All right, Matty, welcome back to the Ask Matty show. This is such a great show. And Matty, people are bringing their questions for you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I was actually just thinking about the Ask Matty show last week, and it's really brought a lot of joy into my life, and it's brought a lot of passion. It's rekindled some of the passion that I have for reaching out and being a part of this community. Yeah. And I love the program. I love our members in our closed program, which you guys can come be a part of. But I love this part where I get to interact with some of you guys that are not immediately in our community, and kind of getting you guys educated and pointing you guys in the right direction on some stuff. So I'm excited, ready to talk crypto.
Yes, team, we got a lot of great topics today. We got Casper, Zcash. We're going to kind of follow up some of there's a lot of questions, last week. If you didn't watch last week's show, go watch that. Both of our shows last week, Matty, were a lot about Casper.
A lot of Casper talk content, yeah.
So a couple follow-ups here, but we're going to get into some good strategy things that you guys need to know. And just like Matty said, if you're new, if you need to get into community, if you need tools like we have at cryptocharge.com, click that link in the pinned comment down below, take you directly to our website. Check us out there. Matty, code YouTube that people can use to get integrated there, and join the community in our Discord. We got a lot of stuff going on in there. You can learn fast if you have questions. I know people have, technical support questions that, they're struggling to move cryptos around, or, people have many problems in crypto. So we satiate that problem. We solve that problem in the Discord within our community. So join up there. All right, we're done shilling here, Matty. Let's get into the content here. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
Roberg7338. Hey, Matty, I'm 15 and I own $400 of Casper and $300 of XRP. Do you think I should look at staking, or does it not make sense because I have a limited number or amount?
Well, first of all, brother, I'm really proud of you for being so young and wanting to take your hard-earned money and invest in it. I was a little younger when I first really kind of got the bug for stocks, but that was kind of about the age when I started, doing some unpaid internships at, UBS Financial, and kind of like getting my toes wet and, how the markets move and stocks and all that good stuff. So first of all, I love that you're doing this. The earlier you can start, guys, the better your chances of success long-term. And do not worry about the amount that you have invested in here. Do not let anyone deter you and tell you it's too small of an amount. This is an amount that's good for you, and this is already more than 99.9% of 15-year-olds have, right? Yeah. So I'm really, really great. Kudos to you for on that. As far as staking the Casper, I would stake it all up, brother. There's no downside to it. It only costs 2.5 Casper to stake and 2.5 Casper to unstake. So what are we talking about here, right? Like less than 10 cents to stake, less than 10 cents to unstake right now. And I think the pool, if I'm not mistaken, is around 11%. Don't quote me on that. It is a fluctuating pool based on TVL, total value locked. So that will change accordingly. We have seen the Casper pool as high as like 13 or 14%. We've seen it as low as 6 or 7%. But those rewards are paid out every 2 hours, and you can just take them as you want them, right? So it's a 14-hour bonding period, 14-hour unbonding. So within 14 hours, you could have that plus all your rewards back in your Ledger wallet or back in your Casper decentralized wallet. It's absolutely worth it, brother. Even if you don't have a Ledger device, you can get the new Casper wallet and you can stake directly from there with CSPR.live. You're leaving money on the table by not staking the Casper. Now, you can't stake the XRP, and I absolutely would not move it around. Just keep it, ideally maybe in an Exodus wallet. That's a software wallet. It's kind of like the next best thing to a hardware wallet. But with your Casper, brother, make sure you get that staked up, leaving money on the table, but not staking that up. And then when we get ready for it, you're going to have a lot more Casper to sell without having to put any of your own money in there. But again, kudos to you. Keep it up. Yeah. Keep adding as you can, right? Even if that means, hey, I earned, $300 from this job, doing, helping somebody out with a gig, whatever. Take half of that and put a little bit more in there, right? But keep at it. Really proud of you, brother.
Matty, this is honestly heartwarming. 15 years old. Matty, I was in college, and every time I brought up crypto, people would roll their eyes, and think I'm like weird, it's a little, the digital money, and it's gonna, do this and that. This is honestly awesome, bro. I mean, 19, 20, and 21-year-olds at my college were giving me, the roundabout about, isn't Bitcoin that scam money that everyone uses to, facilitate, the what is it? What were we talking about on the other show last week? Oh, sex trafficking and all that stuff that's still done with the dollar. But this is sick. This is super sick. If there's more of you young cats in there, leave it in the comments down below. I want to know if there's actually some younger people joining us here, Matt. Alex says, use case is garbage. Marketing is everything.
Okay, let's try to validate this argument for a second, because I don't want you guys to ever think that I'm just here to like shoot down your points of view, because that's not where I'm at, and I'm not a closed-minded person. In fact, I watch a lot of content from creators that have complete opposite viewpoints to me, and I'll watch the whole video even if I disagree with it, because it's a good mental exercise to listen to other people that have different viewpoints than you. So use cases, first of all, not garbage, right? Like if there's no use case, there is no product. So even think about the internet, right? Like the only reason the internet was able to be propelled forward and the capacity we propelled it forward now is because of the use cases and the problems that we have now in current society that the internet has helped satiate, right? Like we can communicate for free basically right now, right? Where previously, if you wanted to send a letter to somebody, right, you had to like go get the piece of paper, you had to buy the envelope, you had to buy the stamp, you had to go to the post office, you had to send it out, right? Like communication is a use case that has driven the internet forward, right? Information, the abundance of information is something that we have been able to propel forward with the use of the internet, right? That's a use case right there. So first of all, use cases is garbage is a very, very lazy argument. Marketing is everything. Yes, I do agree that marketing is very important, but there are good marketers with bad products. Look at Hex, for example, right? Great marketer. Richard Hart, do I think he's an absolute sack of shit? 100%. Is he a great marketer? Yes, he is. And that is why thousands and thousands and thousands of people still right now believe that Richard Hart's going to fix all of this and that Pulse Chain and Hex and all these things are going to go absolutely ballistic because, he's done such a great job marketing. So marketing is important. Use cases are essential. There's no product without a use case, right? Because if you tell me, hey, buy this coin, and I ask you what it does, and you say, well, it doesn't do anything at all, why would I want to buy that coin, right? So there has to be some sort of use case associated with that. So both are important. And if you think that you can omit one of them, you're wrong.
Matty, if you had to take out that word marketing and input another word, a word that pops into mind right now is adoption. Adoption is everything. Like the adoption project that popped into my mind was Proppy, one that could be used in mortgage and real estate. So how important? So what would you input right there? Because I think adoption is everything to me. What would you input as that word right there?
Yeah, I mean, I would say adoption and high quality tech is everything. To me, it really is, guys. Like I'm a hardware guy too. Like I really love hardware when it comes to computers and cars and everything. Like I value good quality components. So I can't go about investing in and eliminate good quality tech from one of the pinnacles or cornerstones of my investing. So yes, adoption obviously, but the adoption is almost like a secondary effect of good quality technology. Mm-hmm. Automatically, you get adoption from good quality technology. Now, of course, that takes time, just like with anything, right? But over time, I think that will prove to be one of the bigger contributors of long-term holds. Because some of you guys are looking very microscopically. You're like, well, this coin didn't do this in 4 months, 6 months, 8 months, or 9 months. So they've done a bad job marketing and there's no use cases here, right? But like you're not really aware of that long-term trajectory. I was talking with Kevin Cage earlier this week, and we were talking about venture capitalists and how they essentially like look to cast their net on projects. And they're like, okay, out of these 10 things that I'm going to throw $1 million each at, there's a good chance that 6 to 7 of these are going straight to zero, like absolute zero. Like they're not doing anything, even though everything looks really great here, they're going straight to zero, regardless of how good their marketing team is, their developers, And then out of those 3, you're going to have 2 that are going to maybe do pretty decent. You're going to maybe get a 2x out of them. And then one of them has a chance at being an absolute unicorn and then wiping all your other losses and putting you at a really decent profit, right? So I think that there is, to some extent with the market right now, kind of that approach from a lot of people where they have, they want to try to blanket on a lot of assets because they want to have all the opportunities covered. But if you're only doing that on just microcaps or just ones that you think have really good marketing, you're potentially leaving a lot of good money on the table because you also want to think about your long-term portfolio. We can borrow right now against stock portfolios. That is a very big value for people who are high net worth individuals, is being able to borrow against their stock portfolio. Why? Because it is not a taxable event. You do not pay taxes on borrowing money, right? So if you are able to have, let's say, even 3 assets that you hold long-term, that you want to hold 10, 15, 20 years, that you think has really good long-term tech and adoption, that is money, because it's going to be worth a lot more than what you put into it, that you can borrow against, right? It becomes a tool. It becomes a vehicle. It doesn't just become an asset you want to buy low, sell high. There are other ways of looking at your long-term investing than just what's going to pop this cycle, what's going to make me $100,000 in 2 months, right? You have to have a little bit of vision for both the cycle as well as long-term. Think about how to make yourself a wealthy individual long-term. Jeff Bezos right now would not be anything without his stock portfolio. A lot of people are like, oh, these billionaires, all these different things, they're the reason that we're, don't have a good economy and single moms can't eat. You could liquidate Jeff Bezos today to zero, like liquidate Amazon, everything. All those jobs lost, everything. You fund the federal government for a whopping 27 days. All of his net worth comes from the portfolio and then borrowing from that portfolio. So you guys should be having some of that same vision if you want to be that person in the future that not only has their assets, but can protect the taxes against those assets.
It's not how much money you make, Matty. It's how much you keep. The great quote.
Absolutely.
Scott151 says, hi. Thanks for the video. If a person is looking to gain exposure to either Casper or Zcash as of today, which do you like? Goal is max ROI this cycle.
They're actually pretty close, brother. I'd say Zcash and Casper gains are probably pretty similar. Here's the caveat, though. There's no staking with Zcash right now. So if you build a Casper bag and they both take a little while to cook up, right, you're technically gaining some steam. You're gaining some momentum with Casper because of those staking rewards, where you're not going to get that with Zcash. So I would say that from an ROI perspective, Casper and Zcash are pretty similar. But the other thing to consider too is that Casper is a much younger project, right? We're not comparing apples to apples here. Zcash is a Dino coin. It's a privacy coin. It's a proof of work model. Casper is a layer one proof of stake, highly focused on enterprise and NFTs. They're not an apples to apples comparison. So if we're just talking about ROI though, they're probably pretty similar, but you might get a little bit more out of Casper because of those staking rewards. So, this is why we don't try to do the, all eggs in one basket approach, because, you can potentially miss some good opportunities here. But I say that Casper probably going to get you a little bit more money because of those staking rewards.
So yeah, Matty, you can't lend your Zcash at all in America, but outside of America, I wanted to ask you: is there anywhere to lend that you know of? And I know you're not, you're an American guy, so it's like, well, you're actually from Belgium, Matty. So my bad.
Well, here, Belgium, dual citizenship back, but it doesn't matter. I'm American, okay, guys.
So my question is, Matty, there is places outside of the U.S., correct? Because I would imagine, like, I can very much see, Zcash lending for maybe, 2% or something low percent. But with Casper available to you right now, doesn't matter if you're in America or anywhere else, you can stake your Casper right now. Did you hear anything about like Zcash lending outside of the U.S.?
There's always going to be a handful of providers that will connect you with pools where you can, lend your Zcash. I mean, honestly, if I were to be a person who's like, I want to try to get max yield on this and I want to like actually lend out my Zcash and I'm willing to risk the Zcash I'm lending, I would probably actually look for a DeFi pool that involves Zcash, because you're probably going to get a better APY. And in my opinion, you're probably risking about the same as like, sticking it with one of these custodial companies that's offering you whatever, like, the 6%, 8%, whatever it might be. But again, guys, remember, if it's not a proof of stake model, which Casper is, meaning that the delegation of those coins to validators is directly helping secure the network, versus lending your coins in something like a proof of work model, right? Meaning that there's no staking involved. It is a reward that's paid from a machine doing work. It's energy essentially, right? That pays for those coins to be mined. You're lending, you're not staking. So there's more risk, always way more risk with lending than there is staking in a proof of stake model. So personally, I'm not lending my Zcash. It's not worth it. Even if you were to offer me, let's say 15%, the 15% yield is not worth the 100% loss that I could potentially have of that company going under, of whoever it is that's taking these loans out at a bigger amount. Because that's the other thing you guys have to remember. If they're paying me 15, what does that mean? That means there's someone charging someone else 20, 22, 25%. If someone's borrowing my Zcash at freaking 25%, they're already a degen, right? Like what are they doing with it with a 25% VIG on the Zcash, and then they got to go out there and day trade it? They got to like make 25% just to break even. So like just think about the mechanics behind it, guys. Like it's never worth it, in my opinion, to go and chase a little bit of yield and risk everything.
Matty, that's so what you just said right now totally reminded me of, like, maybe it was last year, the whole like XRP buybacks convos we were having, about like, because you got to take into account like who's paying that percent for you to be able to stake your XRP for some egregious amount. So that was like a complete reminder. Notice how we haven't heard any talks about that since.
It's all gone away. It comes back in cycles, and the Riddlers come back in cycles too, the 5, 8, 9. But guys, please don't waste your time. I personally went down those rabbit holes when I first learned about XRP, because I'm like, all right, these guys probably know something I don't. They don't. I promise they don't know anything you don't know. It's all nonsense. It's all just, fugazi, fun little parlor games. If you want to be a part of it for the memes and stuff, go for it. But like, if your plan is based on these riddles and you're not selling any XRP until $600, like, I'm very sorry for you.
Lambo Man 1644 says, what will be the next crypto game changer? Crypto clarity is used in traditional banks. I think he meant a question mark there. US crypto, or even BTC currency adoption, or I guess fill in the blank.
Yeah, those kind of go hand in hand. I think if you have some sort of like currency adoption, and again, the word cryptocurrency is kind of a bad blanket term for the industry. I would say that the best blanket term, and Kevin Cage has been a big proponent of projecting this particular term forward, is just using distributed ledger technology as the better umbrella, because not everything is crypto. And not everything's intended to be money. So there's a handful of digital assets that fall under this distributed ledger technology umbrella. And some of those do act like money, right? Like stable coins do act like money, but the majority of other crypto doesn't act like money. What do they act like? They act like the stock market, right? Because they are just mediums of value on a particular network, and the demand on that network fluctuates, right? It doesn't matter how much demand is on USDT or USDC, a dollar is a dollar, right? So things to consider there. But without getting too far off topic here, I do think that that's probably the biggest game changer. And I know that I've reiterated it so many times, but it comes down to congressional definition of exchanges and brokers. That changes a lot, because that allows, first of all, we've talked about the ETFs, but even like within smaller products of like, self-directed stuff, it allows people to add stuff directly inside of their banking apps, right? A lot of times I think that banks, Charles Schwab, that's right. Charles Schwab acquired Thinkorswim. And if you're able to flip back and forth between your existing banking app and go and do crypto stuff, or potentially, send money from your bank account over to your crypto account, instantaneously there, and be able to just do transactions and go back and forth, that does change a lot. So I think that it starts from that top-down funnel, and then we can start to get into each and every crypto of, staking and, what classifies as a security, at what point are there post-sale obligations, right? Like then we can start and get into the nitty-gritties. But if we can just hammer out those two things, I think that it makes the rest of everything else far easier to regulate.
Matty, I wanted to bring up, because this is actually a really great question, actually, and I wanted to ask you, because I think I have the number one reason why we will never see Bitcoin as like the main, legal tender in America, and that really boils down to control. And you were talking, it was one of the shows last week, and you were just talking about Bitcoin miners and to control, and just think about the people that are buying up large amounts of Bitcoin right now, obviously holding a large circulating supply. There is no way, and it just dawned on me this past, couple of days actually, there is no way we will ever see Bitcoin as the main currency here in America. CBDC, I feel like that might be inevitable, Matty, just because, a lot of conversations last year, 70% pilot testing CBDCs in other nations right now, in the world right now, 70% of nations are doing pilot testing for CBDCs or implementing CBDCs. So I feel like CBDCs are almost like inevitable in America, just depending on, maybe not what political candidate gets in, but maybe like, it's going to be circumstantial, right? So I wanted to throw that at you, because that, I feel like CBDC may be eventually, like, dude, I feel like that's going to happen in America at some point, don't you think?
Yeah, we already have it, right? I think we discussed in a previous episode. We already have central banking, right? You already use digital banking to some extent, so you're already there. All this would be is just integrating additional railways and networks to make that more efficient. Yes, you'll be more granularly tracked, but you're also going to have more efficient payments. So it's a trade-off, guys. You can't have it all.
Nick says, what are your biggest pros and cons for Zcash that made you willing to invest? Currently doing my own research too.
I'd say that Zcash is probably my most contrarian play that I have, because I think most people have given up on privacy coins as a whole, which is perfectly fine. I'm a person that was actually like deeply emotionally upset when I saw the founder of Tornado Cash tossed in jail for putting code online, which again, just because someone wants to do illicit activity, like it shouldn't be illegal for someone to create an Ethereum mixer or create a Bitcoin mixer or to have a pool in which transactions are not linearly organized. Like that's not a crime. In fact, we literally don't even have framework in our in our legal system that says you can't do this. But I think that privacy is very important. It's very normal. And from a Zcash perspective, a lot of this comes down to the technical trade for me. I look at a lot of asymmetrical opportunities. Yeah, like I could look at Matty right now and I'm like, the adoption is great. Matty's a fantastic scaling tool. Like we have NFTs, right? Like we've got all these different things on Polygon that makes it a great pick. But it's so expensive compared to where it's been before, right? And I'm not just talking about previous low to previous high. There just hasn't been that deep of a correction in it. So I'm also looking at the technical side of it of like, okay, we're at multi-year lows here on Zcash. Even if we were to clear out an imbalance of like $200, a $30 Zcash to a $200 Zcash is a phenomenal reward. And that doesn't come anywhere close to even the previous high from the previous cycle, let alone obviously the absolute cycle top over $1,000 on some charts there. So those are some of the pros that I see with Zcash. Obviously, obviously the cons really comes down to regulation, and that's it. I really don't have any other bones to pick with it. Obviously, the proof of work model does make it a little bit slower, but it's definitely a very specific use case, right? We're not just competing with another proof of work and we're just saying, oh, we're Bitcoin 2.0, but it does all the same stuff that Bitcoin does. There is definitely a layer to it that separates it greatly. And there's not many competitors to Zcash either, right? Like you got like Monero, you got Pirate Chain, you got maybe like a couple other small ones that I'm not aware of right now just because I can't keep track of every microcap that comes out. But those are the main three when you bring up privacy coins that, especially if people have been crypto for a hot minute, those are like the top three names in it. So, you know, if you're like wanting to diversify and you're like, okay, like I don't want to go all on Zcash, maybe split it up, go a little Monero, go a little Zcash, and kind of give yourself a little bit of a flexibility in that privacy play. But for me personally, I'm willing to bet heavy on this. I'm a person who just continued to bet during the XRP case when everybody was telling me it was going to zero. It's an unregistered security, right? Like I used that opportunity to accumulate and go against the masses. And I also sold some of my bag at that dollar pop and made a nice little scalp there and was able to rebuy back all of my holdings, right? And overall increase my XRP bag. So, you know, right now there's no pending litigation against Zcash. People are like, well, I saw this exchange delisting. I'm like, guys, first of all, Binance US is a dwarfed exchange. It's like not even a good indicator if it's a good quality asset or not. Like Binance is in its own, you know, heap of trouble. Like it's a non-usable exchange for US clients right now anyway. So I wouldn't even use Binance as a good indicator. I wouldn't use any exchange as a good indicator of like, well, they delisted this. Well, every exchange in the US delisted XRP. And look, here we are back in business, baby. Everyone, you can buy XRP anywhere and everywhere, just like Bitcoin or Ethereum. So when I look at Zcash, even if I were to say 3 more exchanges delist it, it wouldn't change my perspective on it. I would just keep accumulating. Once we're back over that $50 mark, foot off the gas. I'm going to let this baby ride. But while we're here right now at one of the most asymmetric opportunities you could possibly find in crypto, I'm going to swing the bat, baby.
Matty, we are so out of time, but we had so many questions. I talked about at the top of the show. We're going to address some of like the Casper concerns, and we didn't get to any of them. Like I have so many questions down here about
Apologize,
Casper.
guys.
Matty, can you just quickly summarize? Is there any new thoughts about Casper? I mean, it's been a week now since we talked about Casper, or maybe a little bit under a week. Anything new? Anything changing? Any commentary, Casper commentary, just to satiate that little segment we need here?
Yeah, only 2 things that came to my attention recently. Obviously, we talked extensively about IPWE on the last 2 shows, so you guys can go check out both After Hours and the last Ask Matty show. We talked a lot about the Casper situation. Nothing really changed in that particular capacity. The Casper Network is going to be on that Killer Whale show where they talk about blockchain projects. It's kind of like Shark Tank, but for crypto, so that's interesting. And then the other thing you guys need to be aware of, and this is true, like other people's Discords and Telegrams get hacked sometimes. If you're in a Telegram or a Discord and you see something suspicious and it's like all of a sudden like, do this airdrop right now to get this by this time, like just pump the brakes, like relax. Don't feel like you need to connect your wallet immediately. There are unfortunately people who can get past 2FA sometimes. They can emulate 2FA. They can hack into a device remotely and then grab the 2FA from the device. There's things that happen. So even if you're in a Discord or a Telegram group that you trust, always be careful. Always make sure you're double checking and never feel like there's a sense of urgency to jump into an airdrop. One of the things that we do at Crypto Charge within our group there is that if you have a question or you're concerned or something looks weird, you get an email or notification that you should do something, drop it in the chat. We will tell you within probably 30 seconds if it's a scam or not, and keep you guys safe. We've had a lot of members save them a lot of time, a lot of headache, a lot of money by being able to just post whatever it is they're concerned about in the group and ask them questions. Okay, so those are really the only 2 big updates with Casper. Everything else full steam ahead. I'm still accumulating. Have some limits over on Casper. I'm very excited about potentially picking some up, maybe even a full penny lower than we are right now. I think that's a little bit of a greedy goal, but I'd love to do it. But that's all, guys. You know, I would love to see you guys over in our Discord community. 30 days free. Any membership you choose, YouTube gets you half off, and hope to see you guys soon.
Matty, I have to bring up one more thing here, and I completely forgot on the After Hours show the other day, which was a big event of the last week. Just I want you quick speakly to this because I don't think we've talked about it on anything. Was this big thing with XRP with Chris Larsen he was getting hacked, and everyone thought this was a Ripple hack. Everyone thought like this was a fundamental big hack. Have you talked about that at all? I don't think we have.
No, I haven't. It honestly just hasn't even been talked about on our show because it wasn't even worth the time because most of my members know to trust not or verify not trust, right? And that's really literally the essence of crypto is verify not trust. Like, guys, you have to take a step back. Like, do you realize like how quickly false news spreads on Twitter? Like, it spreads so ridiculously fast. Like, it's disgusting how fast it spreads. Like, it's like an STD you got back in high school. Like, it spreads ridiculously fast. You have to always verify stuff when you see it out there. And guess what happened to XRP price? Absolutely nothing, right? Like, nothing happened because there was actually no big fundamental problem that happened. It's so easy for people to get tangled up and associate and say, okay, this is happening. happening. Like the number of people I've seen fall for the Ripple airdrop, the XRP airdrop stuff, like it's disgusting. You guys have to just stop assuming that everything is going to happen to you. Like just stay away from it, guys. Like, don't make decisions based on a quick news article. I've even seen like reputable, quote unquote, reputable news sources spit out incorrect news because they wanted to be first on the gun. Like Eleanor Tourette, you kind of lost a little bit of credit in our community because of like jumping the gun on some stuff because you wanted to be faster than everyone else, right? Watcher Guru's done it as well. CoinDesk has done it, right? Like, and it's disgusting when it happens because they know that there is like a chain reaction that happens within the community for that. So I always say my rule is like, give it 72 hours. If everything is still the same after 72 hours, then it's time to freak out. But like within those 72 hours, let the dust settle. Let these clowns get exposed for spreading false news. And don't be a part of the hysteria. Always just be about you, number one, right?
I didn't want to wait a whole week just to get that off, just because I feel like we need to cover our bases here. XRP, Casper, Bitcoin adoption, this, that. Like there's just some things that we need to talk about. And I just wanted to bring that up because Matty, you see it, I see it too. It's just these negative Nancys, these people that pop in. What's going on with Casper tokenomics? What's going on with this with XRP? And people making up stuff. I don't know where these people get their information from, Matty. I got to be honest. Like, I don't know what channels you guys is watching. Obviously, you need to get tapped into a community like Crypto Charge. We got the tools on the website. We got everything you need there. So don't fall into this stupid FOMO, guys, and the stupid, like, I see this. Matty, I shouldn't even say this, but you were telling me a story the other day. It was like someone freaked out about a particular asset and sold it all. Like, those are the things I don't like hearing. You know what I mean? So,
it hurts. It hurts. Guys, don't drink and trade. I'm just going to tell you guys that. Don't, if you're under the influence of anything, don't trade. Just wait until the next day when you're sobered up, because I promise you 99% of the time you're going to regret whatever decision you made while you were under the influence. So don't do that.
All right, team, make sure you like this video. We went way over, so make sure you like it and let us know your feedback, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.